My name is Maeve Dion. I'm an assistant professor of security studies at the University of New Hampshire, and I'm also a director of an online master's in cybersecurity policy and risk management. So I've been teaching online, both synchronous, asynchronous, hybrid, high flex, however your university wants to define that, since well before the COVID situation started. And for this presentation, the first one in this room is talking about cybersecurity and learning cybersecurity as risk management. And then my second session, we'll take a break in between the two. And the second session is more on learning with NIST in deep self-regulated learning. So teaching cybersecurity as risk management, what do I mean? We're talking about teaching cybersecurity for organizational resilience and agility. We'll go more into that definition in the next slide. And for organizations, we mean for-profit businesses, public agencies, even national and state governments. And the end result is that we have graduates who can help their organizations maintain situational awareness about the cyber risks throughout the organization, and also manage those risks in alignment with that organization's missions, imperatives, and expectations, all within a dynamic environment. Now we know about, everybody here in this field in cybersecurity knows about the vulnerabilities and threats being dynamic, but we're also talking about dynamic environments relating to organizational change, industry and market change, political change, environmental or physical change, things like that. So when we talk about cybersecurity as a discipline, especially in relation to risk management, this presentation is going to talk about the first two in that series. What should be learned and who are the learners when we're focused on this topic. And we don't have too much time on how they should learn. I was speaking at an open education conference last week more about active learning, especially in the online environment, but that's a little bit more about what my second presentation will touch on. For the definition of cybersecurity, there's many, many definitions, as you all know. For the definition for me and for purposes of this presentation, so we're all working in the same context in relation to organizational preparedness and agility, we're talking about the use of commitments, policy, tools, and practices to keep our systems and organizations and societies free from harm that come from our reliance and use of those systems, while also maximizing opportunities for achieving our objectives. We have the body of knowledge. Okay, so we've got a definition from 2017. The Joint Task Force came together with the cybersecurity discipline and what it is. And it's very interesting to, I'm not going to read this all, you're probably quite familiar with it, but it is interdisciplinary. And that's really the part that this presentation will focus on. And when we see from the body of knowledge, there's really 8 areas that were defined. And the middle one, system security, that's clearly got a technical focus, but it also includes things like policy and system thinking and system management. And then when we get to the latter 3 areas of the body of knowledge, they're the less technically based competencies. They're the non-traditionally focused STEM areas of cybersecurity, the human and behavioral aspects, the organizational aspects relating to risk management, governance, planning, policy, and operations, and the societal security, where you'll have the crime, the ethics, public policy, things like that. And that would include homeland security, national security, and privacy. And we're going to keep refining these. This was the 2017 effort. And when we think about what is taught, and we can see here that there's 3 out of the 8 that are non-technical, right? So in these, if we're categorizing our areas for this body of knowledge, the interdisciplinary focus is very clear just looking at these categories. And when we think about what is taught, the corollary is who is taught. And when we focus on organizational preparedness and agility, the who is taught is really thinking about anyone who may become involved in our preparedness and agility efforts at the tactical, operational, and strategic levels. This includes organizational strategy and a very careful balancing of your planning, implementation, and maintenance efforts relating to not just technical controls for cybersecurity, but governance controls, organizational controls, and human and behavioral controls. And that's where you're seeing the blending of this interdisciplinary approach. So we could teach cybersecurity, of course, in the traditional STEM fields, and we must keep doing this. As other people talked yesterday, and we've been talking about for years in this field, we need more graduates to fulfill our technical needs in cybersecurity. But we also need to be teaching cybersecurity to other types of students. And it could be majors in cybersecurity, but it doesn't have to be. We could have minors in cybersecurity. We could have one-off classes. And the folks who need to understand certain aspects, especially these interdisciplinary aspects of cybersecurity, include business, finance, and accounting, folks in homeland security, law, criminal justice, government and politics, healthcare, so many different areas. So we could think about blending those in the undergraduate and cybersecurity areas, and also teaching more classes that bring people together across these silos. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about breaking down those silos in the second presentation. But having folks learning in an interdisciplinary context is as important as making sure the content and the materials and the learning activities are also interdisciplinary. So one other way of doing this is creating a specialized degree program, and that's what we've done here at the University of New Hampshire. We have a master's in cybersecurity policy and risk management. This is not within our engineering or computing departments for information technology. This is actually in the Department of Security Studies, where we have homeland security classes and degrees and intelligence and emergency management and things like that. And we have the body of knowledge, if you want to call it, for our program. It's broken into policy, where you have the common context and the history, the roles of policy, the creation, the maintenance, the use of policy, and also behavioral and organizational hindrances to policy, such as, for example, neutralization theory and why people don't want to comply or even embrace, certainly not embrace policy. And then another body of focus is about preparedness. It's planning for all of those controls. That's all of those levels from strategic to tactical, and understanding incident response as a system throughout the whole organization and throughout all of those entities that any organization is a part of, whether it's supply chain or partners and things like that. And also understanding all the laws and regulations and standards that are required to have a full understanding throughout your organization to have a true preparedness. And also relates to your information sharing and you're setting up your partnerships and making sure you're having true situational awareness about all of those change factors that I mentioned earlier. And then the third area going down is really about managing your security and your agility, both. And it's about managing your risks, positive and negative risks, your opportunities, as well as your harmful risks. It's about understanding organizational behavior and how change and leadership and follower patterns will help your organization enhance its cybersecurity culture and its willingness to embrace cybersecurity responsibilities throughout the organization. It's also about understanding security metrics and key performance indicators and risk indicators, measurements at all levels from that strategic down to the tactical. And being able, of course, to communicate that well to the various audiences who need to actually have intelligible, actionable intelligence to make their decisions, right? You don't just give them data, you have to transform it to whichever audience you're talking to. And then we finish with an individualized capstone, a project or a thesis, depending upon the student. Now, if you look at our students, it's very interesting to make some comparisons back to some of the presentations yesterday on the NIST framework, as well as the body of knowledge I just spoke about in some prior slides. We have an average age of 37 in our program. We have a lot of lateral job change people, folks who are professionals in various areas, in various industries and sectors, both public and private, who have come in a sideways path to the cybersecurity field in their organization, and they need additional support and learning to do better at their job. 94% are already full-time working professionals, so it's a very non-traditional degree learning base. We have over 40% women in a cybersecurity program, and 30% are either active service, National Guard, or veterans. So you can see some of the concepts that the NIST presentations yesterday were talking about regarding the different pathways into cybersecurity and engaging the different audiences and trying to embrace the full breadth of cybersecurity in its interdisciplinary approach. You will also see, interestingly, that our student base is 55% only have a background in IT or computer science or communications or networks. And that's professional and work experience background. And that means that the majority of the others who are coming into this cybersecurity profession are coming from that interdisciplinary background with more knowledge of those bottom three in that cybersecurity body of knowledge. And that also reflects what I really appreciated hearing from the presentations yesterday about the teamwork approach. And if you look at the revised NIST workforce framework, it's really talking less of individual work roles and much more about understanding that we have a team approach, and some people are going to be the technologists, some people are going to have to be the technologist and be able to have that full technical STEM-based background and learning and training, but others are the other facilitators, the ones that help translate that into organizational imperatives and also help translate the organizational imperatives and missions into the policy that is properly aligned with the security needs. And I think the approach is a very interesting one in our program that has all of these folks studying together in the same classes. So you may have someone who was the vice president of research and development at an international medical manufacturer learning with someone who is a CISO or deputy CISO at a public agency, learning with someone who's a director of IT for an insurance organization. And they're also learning with new graduates who are in their very first jobs, entry level on a compliance role or on a system administrator role or on customer service help desk who want to learn more about cybersecurity to help advance them. And learning together and sharing their experience together, it's a great way for them to learn from each other and not just from the teachers and the materials. And that's how we work with our access and engagement across silos. We help give examples. So students are encouraged to apply their knowledge in our weekly assignments. So for example, one student, if we're learning about access controls and various aspects of access controls, for example, one student may utilize this and apply that for an assignment related to hospitals, another for elementary schools, another for a water and sewer system for a municipality. And they're sharing this with each other, their applied knowledge, where they've all learned the same stuff, they're applying it differently and they're seeing, oh, there's a lot of similarities here, or maybe there's a best practice over here in this sector or in this industry that we can apply, and it helps them with their community of interest and community of engagement. And so the ongoing work here is to keep talking about how we can try to improve cybersecurity in the workplace. And so one idea that I'm working on is a general education undergraduate course that may be a required course, depending upon if we can get colleges to adopt it. But we've already seen movements. Folks talked about it yesterday, for example, the Girl Scouts badging, but there's also a lot in the K-12 regarding things about staying safe online, right? Don't post bad things in social media, protect yourself. But what about cybersecurity in the workplace? No matter what degrees our undergraduates are getting, they're going to be working somewhere when they graduate. And the expectations of performance in a workplace and what they should and should not be doing is something that we can start preparing them for. And so they can start embracing their role of understanding their responsibility for knowing policy and for abiding by it and for embracing that cybersecurity responsibility that they will have to some degree, whatever type of job they have in the workplace. Other ideas are to keep embracing this interdisciplinarity focus of cyber risk management in the workforce. We have such a wide variety of job descriptions, knowledge, skills, and abilities, and things like that in the risk management aspect. And we're starting to see a lot of crossover for folks saying like, we need a cyber risk manager or business risk for cyber associate. And it's not really clear. The other thing is the pathways. Remembering we're having a lot of lateral and horizontal folks coming in different ways, not just directly up from undergrad. And then the other, in parentheses, is more of that perspective of a cybersecurity workforce. We've seen a lot of growth and involvement in the NIST framework, and increasing that interdisciplinarity and that team approach, I think, is a benefit. So it's in parentheses because I don't really have any set ideas yet, but I think we need to keep talking about it. So I will stop here. You will see on my slides, there's links in the chat that you can contact me. So I will stop here. And let's see what questions are here. This is a 30-credit Masters of Science program. Hands-on activities are all, there's no labs, it's not STEM-based, right? It's policy and risk management. And so there are oral presentations that are required. They are required, each class is only 8 weeks long, it's very intensive. And they are required to have an ability to record themselves giving oral presentations. There are 2 in each course, because we've also designed it for different audiences. So how do they talk to folks on the Hill, the staffers on the Hill who might be proposing some new legislation? But more importantly, how do they talk to a board? What's the difference between explaining something policy related to your board of advisors or to your senior leadership? And then how do you talk differently when you need to train your rank and file employees across an organization? So we have different assignments that require the translation of cybersecurity awareness and responsibility and training and understanding into different audiences. And we also have, for all of those classes, we have different buildings of things relating to risk management, of course, right? So they understand enterprise risk management and other aspects. Potential jobs for our graduates, you can actually link right out on our website. We actually categorize it in 2 areas because those who have a technical background, they have a different breadth of jobs available to them. And those with a non-technical background also have a different breadth available to them. We have found for those with a non-technical background, the more entry level, it goes from business cyber risk associate, security risk and compliance associate, cyber policy and strategy planner, up to higher level positions, more advanced, depending upon their professional experience already. Your cyber resilience coordinator and director of cyber business alignment, things like that. And then those with a technical background are very similar to folks in a technical business cybersecurity program, except they have this added bit of the policy and risk management that may help them springboard up to a CISO position a little more quickly or more easily. Credit for previous certifications within policy and guidance. No, this is a very interdisciplinary program. And so there is a benefit added, but the university does not accept certification. Many of our students have a variety of certifications coming into this program. But as you all know, understanding and training for certification is very different from the expectations of graduate learning for a Master's of Science degree. Interactions between students, again, it's online, so it's asynchronous, our program. We can talk more about that in the next presentation.